Good evening, students. So, welcome to the online English classes. Hope you all are doing well. So, students, last week we discussed the chapter Albert Einstein from a supplementary reader snapshot. And today, this week, we are going to discuss chapter number 4 from a book Hornbill, that is The Landscape of the Soul by Nathalie Troveroy. So, before going on to the chapter, I would like to quote a very famous line by Aristotle, which contains the theme of the chapter, Landscape of the Soul. So, there is a very famous line by Aristotle, that is, the aim of art is not to represent the outward appearance of things, but their inward significance. So this contains the whole crux of the chapter, Landscape of the Soul, that the aim of art is not to represent the outward appearance of things but their inward significance. So with this, let's start the chapter, but before that we will have a little introduction about the author first. That Nathalie Troveroy is an art historian who came in limelight because of her translated work City of Designs, which is a book by William Dalrymple. So she became famous because of her translated work City of Designs by William. So she has traveled various cities of the world. She also holds a master's degree in the history of art and archaeology from the University of Belgium. So this is all about the author Nathalie Troveroy. Let's go on to the chapter now. So at the very first of the chapter, there is a story discussed in which the emperor Xuanzong commissioned a Chinese painter, Wu Daozi, to decorate a palace wall. So Wu Daozi, the Chinese painter, made a very beautiful painting on the wall of the palace to decorate the wall, and when the painting was done, the emperor admired the scene. The emperor admired the painting, but he appreciated the outward appearance of the painting. But the painter wanted to draw the attention of the emperor to the cave in the painting. There was a cave at the bottom of the mountains in the painting. So the painter wanted to draw the attention of the emperor towards the cave, and the painter clapped his hands, and when he clapped his hands, the entrance of the cave in the painting opened, and the painter entered into the cave. But before the emperor could move, the entrance got closed and the painting along with the artist vanished. So this is the story where, first of all, the emperor appreciated the painting, but the painter uh, the emperor appreciated the painting, but the painter wanted to draw the attention of the emperor towards the cave in the painting, and he clapped his hands and the entrance of the cave got opened up and he entered into the cave. But when the before the emperor could move into the cave, the entrance got closed and the painting along with the artist got vanished. So what this story suggests, that such type of stories you will always find in China's classical education, because these type of stories you will find in the books of many philosophers. These stories help the master to guide the students in the right direction of art. So always, because these stories help the master to guide the students in the right direction, so you will find these type of stories in China's classical education. uh, so this type of stories, that's why they play an important role in the classical education of China. So there is another story in which a painter painted a dragon, but the painter at last would not draw the eye of the dragon, because he had the fear that if he would draw the eye of the dragon, it would fly out of the painting. So this is another story, and in contrast to this story, there is another story which is representative of Western painting, and the story is that there was a master blacksmith, Quentin, who fell in love with a painter's daughter. So, but the painter was not ready to accept blacksmith as his son-in-law. So what the blacksmith did, that to be accepted as a son-in-law, Quentin entered into the studio of the painter and painted a fly on the painter's latest panel. So when the painter tried to squat it away, when the painter came, he took the fly as real and wanted to squat it away. But when he realized the truth that this is not the real fly, this is the painted one, so Quentin was accepted. The painter was very impressed, and the Quentin was accepted as an apprentice and married his beloved and became the son-in-law of the painter, because the painter was so much impressed by the art of the blacksmith. So that means the painting of blacksmith was taken as real by the painter. It was looked as real because it contained the real essence of life. So these three stories gives us the contrast between the Chinese form of art and European form of art, where these stories tells us that what each form tries us to achieve. The Europeans want a perfect illusionistic likeness, while in Asia it is the essence of inner life and spirit. So there is a difference between Chinese form of art from the European form of art. In the Chinese story, only the artist know the way within, and he reaches his goal beyond the material appearance. And the emperor may commission a painting and appreciate its outward appearance, but only the artist reveal to him the true meaning of his work. The emperor may rule over the region he has conquered, but only the artist knows the way within. And also, the artist said to the emperor that let me show you the way to see the painting. So, the painter tells the king the path to the cave or the method to reach the cave. And by entering the cave and disappearing from the world, the painter explains the mysterious works of the universe. So there is a difference of Chinese view of art from the European view, because a Western figurative painting is meant to reproduce an actual view of the scene, whereas a classical Chinese landscape is based on an imaginative inner or spiritual approach. The Chinese art aims at achieving the essence of inner life and spirit, while the European form of art is trying to achieve a perfect illusionistic likeness. So there is a difference of Chinese view of art from the European view. Unlike a Western figurative painting, a classical Chinese landscape of Wu Daozi doesn't reproduce an actual view, and one can enter it from any point and travel in it, but it requires the active participation of the viewer both physically and mentally. The European painter wants the viewer to borrow his eyes and look at a particular landscape exactly as he saw it from a specific angle. But on the other hand, the Chinese painter doesn't choose a single viewpoint. His landscape is not a real one. He doesn't want the viewer to borrow his eyes. He wants the beholder to enter his mind and see the painting by himself. So one can enter a Chinese landscape from any point and move across leisurely and come back. The Chinese view of art also requires an active participation of the viewer, which is both physical and mental, and the landscape is an inner one, a spiritual and the conceptual space. So, in the first part of the chapter, Landscape of the Soul, the author wants us to differentiate the Chinese form of art from the European form of art. So, this is the difference between Chinese from the European form of art in the form of with the help of three stories. So, the next concept in the chapter is the concept of Shanshui, which is a Chinese concept, and Shanshui is also a Chinese word. So, which means mountain water. So, the Chinese philosophy Shanshui, which means the mountain water. So, it literally means mountain water. The two elements used together represent the word landscape. Mountain and water are two elements of an image. They also reflect the Taoist view of the universe. The mountain is yang, whereas water is yin. So, mountain represents yang, the male principle, and water represents yin, the female principle. And both are different because the mountain rises vertically towards heaven, it is stable, warm, and dry in the sun, whereas the water is horizontal and rests on the earth and is fluid, moist, and cool. So both are different. Yang represents the female male principle, and yin represents the female principle. Yin is the receptive and feminine aspect of universal energy, whereas yang is its complementary part, which is active and masculine. So, the interaction of yin and yang is a fundamental notion of Taoism. So, there is an essential third element also between yin and yang, which is the interaction of the two, which is called the middle void. So, it is the middle void where the interaction take place. So, the middle void is very essential. Nothing can be happened without the middle void. So, the concept of middle void can also be made clear by the comparison of the yogic practice of pranayama. In the pranayama, like we always breathe in, retain the breathe and breathe out. So the suspension of breathe in between breathe in and breathe out is the void, is the middle void where actual meditation occurs. So hence we always find the white unpainted space in the Chinese paintings, which has a very special importance in the Chinese landscape. So that is the middle void, which is very important, which we always find in the Chinese landscape in the form of white and unpainted space. So that is the middle void between the female and the male part, between the female principle and the male principle. The middle void is the interaction of the two. So the middle void is very important. Nothing can be happened without the middle void. So the second concept is the concept of Shanshui, which means the mountain water, uh, which means the two complementary ideas are taken together and their interaction between the two is called as the middle void, which is very important. So this is the second concept of landscape of the soul. Next comes that the third element, uh, that is the middle void, is often overlooked. That is the middle void where the interaction take place. And next comes man becomes a means of expression of communication or the eye of the landscape. That what is the role of man? The writer assigns a very fundamental role to man in the space between heaven and earth. He becomes the medium of communication between poles of the universe. His presence is essential as he is the eye of the landscape. He occupies an important position in the universe. He is not lost or oppressed by the lofty peaks. Man's presence is essential as he is the most important feature or eye of the landscape. We cannot see without eye, so similarly, the universe is incomplete without the man. So man becomes a mean of expression of communication or the eye of the landscape. He was always assigned a very fundamental role. So next and the last concept is getting inside outsiders art. So there is a very famous article by Brinda Suri in the Hindustan Times dated 28 August 2005, Getting Inside Outsiders Art. So this is an article which tells us about the concept of art blood. And what is art blood? Art blood means the art of those who have received no right, who have received no formal training, who have no right to be artist, as they have received no formal training, yet they have the talent and artistic insight. They are the artists who think out of the box. Their works are totally different from those of the predecessors. So getting inside outsiders art contains a concept of art blood. And the example of very famous example, very well known example of art blood is the creations of Nek Chand, his creation of rock garden at Chandigarh, which is a very beautiful and very right expression of art blood. So the work of 80-year-old Nek Chand is India's biggest contribution to outsiders art. Nek Chand has won worldwide recognition for his unique contribution to outsiders art. Using stone and recycled material, he has created many sculptures at Rock Garden, Chandigarh. So he has converted a small patch of jungle into a very beautiful garden, into a very beautiful rock garden. So his creations were of greatest importance. The recently released 50th scene, Spring 2005 of Raw Vision, which is a UK based magazine, pioneer in outsiders art publication, has featured Nate Chand and his rock garden sculpture, Women by the Waterfall, on its anniversary issues cover. So his art has been highly acclaimed worldwide. How a single man's vision can make a difference and produce a unique art. The Swiss Commission for UNESCO has honored him by organizing a 5-month interactive show called Realm of Nekchand. So the work of Nekchand has been displayed in the leading museums of Switzerland, Belgium, France, and Italy. So, in short, nature has taken outsider art to dizzying heights and richly deserves the worldwide acclaim. So, this is a very famous example of art Brut. So, students, all this is about landscape of the soul, which is divided into three parts. First concept is how a Chinese form of art is different from the European form of art. Second tells us about the concept of Shanshui, which means mountain water, which is a Chinese concept and Chinese word. And next comes getting inside outsiders art. So all this is about landscape of the soul. Go through the video, and regarding any doubts, please ask me, students. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day ahead.